All right, welcome to our last few days before we unplug from the daily grind of life and enjoy some spring break. This week, we're going to be featuring Jason Reynolds, the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature for 2021, and awesome author. As a kid, he never read a book cover to cover till he was 17 because he always felt like authors failed to hook him, failed to engage him. So all of his works, they feature really strong hooks, engaging leads to get us to read. And as a national ambassador for young people's literature, like Walter Dean Myers, he gets the honor of traveling around the country, going into schools and libraries and meeting kids, even in juvenile detention centers, and talking about the importance of literacy, of reading. And all of his books, they offer a lot of hope to kids. So I want to just do a little feature some of his best. He's probably best known for his track series, and it's these kids they've all found their way into this elite running team. And they're all fiery. They always have fun personalities, but they have very diverse backgrounds. And each kid has a struggle at home, whether it's a financial hardship or mom or dad is sick, and they need this. They need running to kind of give them hope and fuel and purpose in their world. And so they've got something to prove. And so each kid on the team gets their own book, their own story as they tell their tale. So you don't have to like sports or running. These are books for all people, especially if you don't like to read. And I think they're for every kid, boy, girl. But it starts with Ghost, but you can really read them in any order. Today, we're going to be reading Broom Dog. And Broom Dog is a short story from his latest Look Both Ways. And that's the first one here. And it's a story about this bus lets these kids off at the stop. And as they're walking home, each block is a different story. A different kid tells a story, a short story from his or her life or a group of kids. And then the next block, somebody else takes on the story. So you can read the stories independent of one another. You can kind of skip around the book and enjoy them. Broom Dog is my favorite. And we'll talk about that today. The second one, Long Way Down, this is a quadruple award winner. And this one, it takes place in an elevator, and this kid is riding the elevator, and as he's riding, he's processing what he's going to do when the elevator ends, because he's going to meet his brother's killer. 60 seconds, 7 floors, 3 rules, 1 gun. Rule number 1, crying, don't, no matter what. Number 2, snitching, don't, no matter what. Rule number 3, revenge, do, no matter what. So when he gets to the top, he's got to decide what he's going to do. And if you don't love reading, or a lot of words scare you, Jason Reynolds makes it really accessible. He kind of writes in verse, almost like a little rap when he reads it. So a lot of kids have loved this. It's called Long Way Down. And then if you are a fan of The Hate You Give, book or movie, he wrote All American Boys, and this is a double award winner. And it's about police brutality and the story of 2 kids, Rashad and Quinn, one black, one white, and what goes down in this neighborhood and the 2 different contrasting experiences surrounding this event. So Jason Reynolds, tomorrow you're going to hear an interview for him after he won his big National Ambassador of Young People's Literature Award, and hear him talk about the importance of books, of reading. And he wants all kids to see themselves in his books. He writes about kids from small towns, big cities, all kinds of diverse backgrounds, which is really cool. So like him a lot. And so at this time, I want to invite you to pull up Broom Dog, and then we're going to have some discussions in our crew just to do some text to life connections. And so teachers, if you'd click the link and pull it up here, then the story will be projected on your screen so everybody can see. Our code is Sailor Crew. And students, you'll go to Google Classroom, click on the link Sailor Crew. And when it loads, it's awesome if you click on presentation view, because that makes it nice. You get some different toggle features so you can blow the story up or minimize it and page through it that way. And so I'll give you a moment to pull up Broom Dog. All right, so when you're there, it looks like this. And yeah, it's a story about a bus. The bus drops the kids off, and then, the outside life after the school day kind of takes over. And so the main story, you're going to meet, the main character rather, is Canton. And Canton is dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. A very upsetting, disturbing, scary thing happened in his life, and so he's unable to really function in the world or move past it. He feels very crippled by this, like emotionally, psychologically, and so it's how he deals with the stress, how he copes. And so I just think doing some social, emotional connection is cool whenever we can do that with literature and hold it up to our own lives. And so the story's pulled up, and you don't have to write anything today. We're not doing an assignment today. I just want you to read, follow along, and really enjoy and make as many text-to-life connections as you can. So our first question before we begin reading, what are stressors in many teens' lives today? I see that you guys, so many of you are on travel sports teams. And so you live very busy, scheduled lives, and you're playing at elite level and traveling out of the city, out of the county, sometimes out of the state at the level you play. I've even had kids leave the country and play hockey in Canada, soccer in Mexico. So that's a lot. Stressors, some kids bouncing from mom's house to dad's house and trying to keep that all straight is a stressor. Some kids, because of whatever circumstances with your parents or decisions they've made, you've had to grow up faster and kind of be an adult or provide a lot of care for yourself or maybe your siblings in your life, and that's been tough. Or maybe with you're being raised by grandma, grandpa, somebody else, aunt, uncle for right now. Maybe you've moved a lot. Maybe changing friends for the better in your life and having to change friend groups to decide your influences has been a stressor or a different change in your life this year. Kids at home being virtual and navigating all these classes is a stressor, and being at home a lot with the drama that can happen. And I just think social media, right, as a whole nother thing. Right? You leave the school at 1 o'clock and your whole world blows up on your phone and this and that. So I just want you to chat. What are some stressors in teens' lives today? I will pause. All right, so to piggyback on that, you've got the stress. What do you do with it? What are some healthy outlets for managing it, minimizing it, living with it, coping with it? So maybe for you, it's music. Maybe it's connecting with your animals. I know some kids, they do horseback riding. It is like a therapy class. It's pretty cool. Maybe it's sports. Maybe it's shooting baskets in your driveway. Maybe it's music, drawing. What's your healthy outlet? Share, whole crew, or podmate, your choice. And last one is just want you to think about this personally. You don't have to do anything or talk about it. Who or what calms you or makes you feel secure? What do you go to if it's like an object, right? Like if you have a stress ball or a blanket or a favorite hoodie. For me, it's a peanut butter jar, right? Eat my feelings. Or getting outside, I have a favorite hoodie I pop on, and then I jog up and look at the lake or try to get out in the woods. Or maybe it's a text to somebody, or you always call somebody. I know a good friend of mine, she always calls her grandma when she's having parenting stress, and her grandma who raised 10 kids talks her through some of that. So just think to yourself, because that's what Canton in the story is really looking for. Someone to provide a little bit of security for him. So just text to self. And so we're going to read Broom Dog. And like I said, tomorrow's going to be, you're going to hear an interview from Jason Reynolds and do some thinking work with the story. But today I just want you to really follow along and tune in and enjoy. And so I will zoom in so you can see, listen, follow along as I read. And again, as you read, think about who and what helped Canton overcome his fear. And our author, Jason Reynolds, he does a really cool thing with this extended metaphor of a school bus. And he talks about all the things a school bus is. And it reminds me right now, this year in Cruise, our classrooms, all the things our crew classroom is, right? It's a place of learning, but it's a place of socialization, it's a place of fun, it's a cafeteria, it's all of it. All right, here we go. A school bus is many things. A school bus is a substitute for a limousine. A school bus is a student's version of a teacher's lounge. A school bus is a principal's desk. A school bus is a nurse's cot. A school bus is an office with all the phones ringing. A school bus is a safe zone. A school bus is a war zone. A school bus is a concert hall. A school bus is a food court. A school bus is a court of law, all judges, all jury. A school bus is a magic show full of disappearing acts. A school bus is a bumblebee buzzing around with a bunch of stingers on the inside of it. A school bus is a book of stamps, passing mail through windows, notes in the form of candy wrappers telling the street something sweet came by, notes in the form of fingers pointing at the world zooming by. A school bus is a ketchup packet with a tiny hole in it left on a seat, a paper tube around a straw. That straw will puncture the lid on things, make the world drink something with fizz and bite, something delightful and uncomfortable, something that will stain and cause gas. A school bus is a talent show. A school bus is a microphone, a beat machine, a recording booth. A school bus is a horn section, a rhythm section, an orchestra pit. A school bus is a basketball court, a food stadium, a soccer field. A school bus is a movie set, actors and directors and producers and script, scenes and settings and motivations, action cut. Your fake tears look real. These are real tears, but I thought we were making a comedy. A school bus is a misunderstanding. To Canton, a school bus is also a cannonball, a thing that almost destroyed him, almost made him motherless. All right. So Jason Reynolds, cool job with that metaphor and all the things a school bus is. And I think about our classrooms right now. It's like, it's where we eat, it's where we play, it's where we learn, it's where we work, it's where we grab our footballs and our basketballs and take them outside to dribble and do our thing. It's all of that. Our little tic-tac corners, a school bus, classroom is life. But for him, to this kid Canton, it's now something sweet and fizzy and delight and cool. A school bus is a weapon because it almost took his mom. All right, score with me right here, Canton's mother. Canton's mother is a crossing guard at Latimer Middle School, and she has been the crossing guard there since he was born. He grew up running around the house wearing her neon vest, blowing her whistle. He learned to say stop before he learned to say potty. Hand up to halt, and hand out for the wave through. To Canton, crossing guards, especially his mother, seemed to have special powers. They were able to stop moving things, able to slow traffic, able to make a safe way for people to cross from one side to another. Their vests were capes and their whistles blew some kind of magic tone that forced drivers to hit the brakes. That's what Canton always thought, until a year ago when a little blue ball went bouncing off the sidewalk. All right, let's turn our page. And give yourself a second there to toggle over and find the next page. Okay, zoom in how you like it. So that blue ball, bouncy ball, went into the street, and a boy named Kenzie Thompson went running after it. And Kenton's mom had turned her back just for a moment, a split second, and by the time she realized what was happening, Kenzie was charging across the sidewalk, a school bus headed right toward him. There wasn't enough time to blow the whistle, so Kenton's mother, Miss Post, went chasing after Kenzie, who, once he realized the bus was coming, froze in the middle of Portal Avenue. The bus hit the brakes. The scream of metal and smoke kicking up from the burning rubber filled the air as Miss Post threw her entire body into Kenzie, knocking him forward, the bus turning just enough to avoid hitting Kenzie, but not enough to avoid slightly bumping her. But a slight bump from a bus ain't so slight. But a broken shoulder and a bruised hip is much better than a burial. But the whole thing was devastating to Canton. Canton always waited for his mother after school, killing time by helping Mr. Munch, the custodian, do custodial things. Actually, mostly Canton just sat around listening to Mr. Munch complain about things like the bathrooms. But on the day Canton's mother was hit by the bus, the conversation about why kids throw pennies on the floor like pennies don't spend was cut short by Jasmine Jordan and Terrence Jumper, who came running back into the school screaming about, "Miss Post got hit by the bus!" A sentence Canton never expected to hear, and hearing it was like hearing the world's longest whistle blow shrill, shredding his eardrums. His skin was crawling, felt like it was changing color from brown to yellow, school bus yellow. And by the time Canton and Mr. Munch got outside, sirens were already blaring down Portal Avenue. Miss Post was back to work in a week. Whistle in mouth, vest strapped on, altered only by the sling holding her shoulder in place, she went back to normal. She had to, said it was just part of the job. But not Canton. He didn't go back to normal. The afternoon his mother returned to the corner to guide students across the street, Mr. Munch found Canton in the bathroom after school, sitting on the nasty tile floor in the corner, his head pressed against his knees. "Ken, what you doing in here?" Mr. Munch asked. When Canton lifted his head up, Mr. Munch could see he'd been crying. He could also see that Canton's chest was pumping, heaving like it was hard for him to breathe, like it would break open. And Mr. Munch got down on the floor with him, squatted beside him, talked him through some breathing exercises. "Come on, Canton, count to 10 with me. 1, 2, 3, and then, now let's go back to 1, 10, 9, 8. Eventually, Canton could breathe, could talk, could stand, and Mr. Munch walked him outside. When they made it to the corner where Miss Post was working, Canton wrapped his arms around his mother and squeezed. Held her so tight she winced, her shoulders still a sack of broken bone. "Okay, I'm okay. You're okay. We're okay," she chanted in his ear, trying to figure out how to get him to let go so she could do her job, but not wanting to let go because he was also her job. Mr. Munch patted Canton on his shoulder, but realizing there was no way this boy could let go of his mother, Mr. Munch decided he would step into the street, stick his fingers in his mouth, and whistle. He put his hand up and he yelled at cars, "I'm telling y'all right now, you hit me and I'm hitting you back." Once the traffic stopped, he yelled for all the waiting students to get on across the street. And then he turned back toward the stopped cars and puffed his chest, almost bucking, daring them to move. The next day, Mr. Munch met Canton outside his last class of the day, Mr. Devanzo's social studies class. "How you feeling?" Okay." "Still got the jitters?" Canton nodded, just slightly, trying to hide his embarrassment. You want to take a walk with me? I want to give you something. Canton and Mr. Munch sauntered the halls of the school, pushing dust and hair that looked like dust and coins and candy wrappers and random sock and drawstrings and loose braids and who knows what else as the students bustled around, eventually funneling through the doors into the outside world. When my daughter Winnie went off to college, my wife got so nervous she called Winnie multiple times a day. Whenever Winnie wouldn't answer, Zena would just lose it, Mr. Munch started. Zena's your wife? Yeah, Mr. Munch grinned. Best person I ever known. But she'd been through a lot. Seen a lot of the world when she was young, and it made her terrified for our daughter. Made her anxious about every step Winnie took away from us. What if something happens to her? What if she needs us? What if she's in danger? Zena go on and on with these questions, up all night, sick with fear all day. And what you say? Nothing. But what I did was buy her a dog. A dog? Yep. They stopped at the custodian closet. The old man pushed a pile of middle school debris into the corner and then pulled out 1,000,000 keys, flipping through them like pages of a book. Not 'cause she needed something else to care for. No dog can take the place of our baby girl, but I read this thing about emotional support animals. What's that? Basically like having a dog to make you feel better. Finally, he picked the right key and he opened the closet door. I mean, what's better than a dog, right? They went into the closet, which is big enough to be an office, pictures on the wall of Mr. Munch's wife and daughter and the dog, a small curly-haired thing with an underbite so ugly it was cute. At least Canton thought so. Besides its cuteness, Canton kept thinking about all the things better than dogs, like ice cream, and skateboards, and maybe a girlfriend one day, or even a girl as a friend, and a good joke. Oh, and video games. And then after all that, dogs are cool. Mr. Munch, why are you telling me this? Canton asked. He was thinking maybe Mr. Munch was trying to be his emotional support dog, except not a dog, his emotional support human. And all this was just a way to keep his mind off his mother and the fear of the school bus swiping her again. Why am I telling you this? He repeated Canton's question. 'Cause I made you one. You made me a dog? Well, I couldn't just buy you a dog. Your mom might not be okay with that, but I thought maybe this could help. Mr. Munch reached into a locker and pulled out the head of a broom, the sweeping part, which he detached from the broomstick. The straw was curled and mangled as if Mr. Munch had been cleaning the sidewalk for like 20 years with it. He had drawn big black circles on the one side like eyes and an oval with a tic-tac-toe. Turn the page. All right, get your page set so you can read with me. With a tic-tac-toe board in the middle of it, which Can't assume was a mouth. At the top, 2 pieces of cloth cut into ears and glued in place. It's a broom. I'll clean it, promise, and yeah, it's a broom until you do this. He petted the wiry twine as if it were fur, as if he were scratching behind the ear of a Yorkie in need of a grooming. Why is the mouth like that? Is a broom dog angry? No. Mr. Munch turned the broom head toward him, shrugged. He's smiling. Hi. Sorry, I had a little interruption, so now I'm back. Somebody came to my room. I don't remember where I was, but I'm going to just start at the beginning of this page. Cardboard in the middle of it, which Can't assume was a mouth. At the top, 2 pieces of cloth cut into the ears and glued in place. It's a broom. Cleaned it up, promise, and yes, a broom until you do this. He patted the wiry twine as if it were fur, as if he were scratching behind the ear of a Yorkie in need of grooming. Why is the mouth like that? Is the broom dog angry? Ah, Mr. Munch turned the broom head toward him, shrugged. He's smiling. Oh, Canton squished up his befuddled face. So you really think this is going to help me? Can't hurt to try. A slick smirk crept onto Mr. Munch's face. I mean, the worst that could happen is you decide to clean up the street. So either way, everybody wins. The next day after school, Canton, with the broom dog tucked under his arm, slowly walked up to the corner to watch his mother, to guard the crossing guard. He leaned against the stop sign at the corner, and whenever Mrs. Post had to step into the street, blow her whistle, raise her hand to stop traffic, whenever Canton's chest would become an inflated balloon, he'd run his fingers through the broom dog's hair, and eventually he named it Dusty. It's strange, the things that work. It's been a year since Mr. Munch gave Canton the broom dog, a year since the first panic attack, a year and a week since the accident, and things have gotten better. The bell rings and everyone gets up to leave Mr. Devanzo's class. Simeon stands at the door, giving everybody high fives like he always does. Up high, he says to Canton as he approaches, and Canton slaps his hand. Don't forget tonight's homework. Write about place, about people, human environmental interaction, Mr. Devanzo shouted over the end of the day clamor. Canton stops at his locker, reaches in to grab Dusty, and heads for the door. He passes Mrs. Walkley in the hallway, scolding Simeon and Kenzie, the blue ball in his hand. Outside, he walks past Candace Green, who he never had the courage to talk to because she was always with her friends, Stinky Greg and Cool Remy. He passed Mr. Johnson, moving the carpool line along. Had to get to the corner before the first cross. That was his thing, for a year and a week. And when Canton finally made it up to the crosswalk at Portal Avenue, there was his mother, Mrs. Post, strapping on her vest and pulling the whistle attached to her black lanyard over her head like it was some kind of prestigious medal. There's my sweet boy, she said, greeting him, arm-winged. They hugged. How was school? He was okay. Homework? Mr. Devanzo wants us to record human environmental interaction, which is what I'm going to work on. Kent made a funny face at his mom, and she made one back. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but I feel like I'm probably an expert at it. Kenton chuckled. I'll let you know if I need your assistance. Deal. We'll get to it. Miss Post winked. Kenton pulled a notebook from his backpack, along with Dusty the Broom Dog, and set the bag down against the stop sign so he could sit and have a little cushion. The Broom Dog rested on his lap as he scribbled words and phrases. Latimer Middle School, corner, Portal Avenue, cars, classmates, mom, whistle, people stop, people go, people talk, people hug, people frown, people laugh, people go off, people go on. All right, we're at the top of the last page, and I'm going to give the last page to you. So I will pause and meet you back. Enjoy. All right, thanks for taking on the last page. And one of my favorite lines on the last page is they're talking about the Broom Dog, and he and his mom, and he says, the Broom Dog had just become a thing he had, a thing he knew was there if he needed it. But it had been a long time, he realized, since he'd actually needed it. So that security blanket, that little bridge, that little support animal object that he had, it helped him get to where he needed to be. He used it as a coping strategy until he had the strength or growth to battle back through the trauma and overcome that terrible event that happened. So thanks for enjoying Broom Dog with me. Just a little preview for tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to watch an interview about Jason Reynolds, and we're going to think about which metaphor for the school bus is most fitting and why. And how do we know Canton is anxious and panic-stricken? The author never comes out and tells you, he shows you, because Jason Reynolds is just that good, that descriptive. And then our guy, Mr. Munch, what kind of guy is he? Like an example, show me, don't tell me. A little figurative language work. And then Mrs. Post, Canton's mom, how does she feel about her job as a crossing guard? And how do you know? Like, how does she take on that duty in her life? And then I want you to look around your crew classroom at the end of the day today and think about how Mr. Canton was sweeping those empty halls and candy wrappers and dust and coins and random socks and drawstrings. And we got all kinds of random middle school debris floating around here in room 15 at the end of the day that we try to tidy up for our custodians, our Mr. Munches. And so I want you to use a little description of your room at the end of the day. We'll do that tomorrow. And then just text to life coping strategies you use when you feel anxious. And then who's your Broom Dog or your Mr. Munch? Your person, your object for security. All right? Thanks for your reading work today. We'll see you back here tomorrow.